Now, I have a confession to make. There's something you need to know about me. For you, this is a morning keynote address. For me, this is therapy. Because this session is true confessions of a reformed grader, is what this is. I began my career in 1991, and when I started teaching, I was the zero guy. I was the late penalty guy. I was the zero for cheating guy. I was the traditional grader through and through. And in fact, in 1991, 92, 93, if you looked up traditional grading in the dictionary, my face would be in there. And not frowning, smiling, 2 thumbs up. I was all in. Right? I felt that that was the right thing for us to do. I felt like that was what I needed to do. And I've come full circle in terms of my perspective and my understandings and my beliefs. I tell you that because I want you to know that I've been there. I know what it means to use these practices. I know what it means to feel as though these are the practices that are in the best interest of the students we work with. And whenever I work with groups, whenever we talk about grading, I think it's important that we trust people's intentions. And I trust teachers. I believe that teachers who are using practices that I would deem to be misguided are doing it for the right reason. We're not doing it to be mean to kids. We're doing it because we think it's in the best interest of the students we work with. Now, I might not agree with you, but when we have this conversation, we need to have this conversation above board and not browbeat people about how wrong they've been and how, for the last 17 years, your career has been misguided. This is about being more right today. It's not about telling people how wrong they've been. It's about looking at today's situation, finding a way to make grading more relevant, finding a way to make grades more meaningful, a way to inspire people to change. Telling people how wrong they are doesn't inspire them to be different. What inspires them is giving them a replacement idea, a new way of thinking about grading. So every time I do workshops, every time I do presentations, every time I'm on a stage, for me it's a reminder of where I've been, how far I've come, and all the things I've done, because I've been there. I know what it's like to use those practices. I had phenomenal systems. I mean, I could take 10% off with one hand tied behind my back and my eyes closed. I was good at it. I had great systems. I had better systems than you. You guys remember the overhead projectors? Some people in here are looking at me like, overhead what? What are those? Back in the day, the Gestetner, all those machines we used to have to use, right? The overhead, that 4-pack of overhead markers, that was my weapon of choice. Blue, red, green, and black. See, if you handed something in late one day, I didn't want to embarrass you. So I didn't write negative 10% on your paper. I put a blue dot next to the staple. I promise you, you're going to think I'm making this up. I put a blue dot next to the staple so that when I finally got around to grading those papers, I would actually take 10% off of your paper. I didn't want to embarrass you by putting negative 10% on the paper. Now, here's the interesting part. When I look back, I realized that I was pretty hardcore about the deadlines, but I never gave myself a deadline for when I was going to return the work. I just said, oh, I'll get to it when I'm done with it. 2 days late, you got a red dot. 3 days late, you got a green dot. 4 days, I did not accept late work. After 4 days, you got the black dot, the dot of death. That's it. Done. Oh, it gets better. My favorite color was blue. I just liked the way blue looked on the screen. It just seemed to show up. I always favored the blue marker. So the blue marker was often the one that ran out more than the other 3. So the blue marker would run out. I would throw it in the trash. Can't get to the supply closet. What am I to do? You turn something in 1 day late. Have no fear. Take your red. Write a small B next to the staple because it's supposed to be a blue dot. And that will be my reminder. I told you I had better systems than you. This all sucks my energy. This all takes time. I have to manage this system. And that's what it became for me. It became a management system. It became a system of, I'm going to get you. Don't you dare hand something in late. If you do, the system kicks in. Nothing after 4 days. That is where I started. And I've come full circle. And I've learned a lot about assessment. And I've learned a lot about grading. And I still have a lot to learn. And we all have a lot to learn. We all have to keep learning. But this, for me, is a way for true confessions of this reformed grader. And this is sometimes what grading feels like, right? There's just so many aspects to it. Like, what about homework? The whole idea of talking about homework. Do we grade the homework? What if we zero weight the homework? What if they say, if I don't grade it, they won't do it? All that all around homework. What about reassessment? And what about the kids who blow off the first assessment and say, oh, I'll just do the retest? That's just reassessment, right? And then, boy, Tom, we got to teach these kids about accountability. We talked about that yesterday in the breakout. We got to teach these kids about responsibility. What about that? What about averaging? Can we average? What if we're on a 4-point scale? There's layers upon layers upon layers. And one of the things that we have to think about when it comes to this grading conversation is this. This grading conversation has to happen yesterday. We have to develop a sense of urgency around this conversation because this really is sort of the last conversation in our transformation within a standards and assessment paradigm. But we also have to pair that urgency with an external sense of patience because this takes time. It takes time for people to work these things out. It takes time for us to let go of old traditions, things that we've hung on to in ways that we don't even know why we're hanging on to them anymore. We just say, well, that's how we've always done it. It's time we challenge that. It's time we rethink grading. It's trying to think about the grading paradigm from a completely different perspective. I call it grading from the inside out because grading begins in the mind.